Why do we hate waiting so much? And why is it still good for us? This is Season 3, Episode 22 of Unhurried. I'm Doug Kyle, and Ryan Viramontes is right here next to me. Great to have you guys along. Ryan, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good.
Nice.
I'm good, yeah. Feeling great. It's warm in here.
It is.
It's now summertime. We're not bundled up. Instead, it's toasty back here.
We're both in shorts.
We're both in shorts, but you are sporting
Look at me.
a lot of Angel
Look at me.
baseball
Yes.
wear.
I got I got a negative comment that luckily was not posted anywhere.
That's true.
It was just a
I
phone
didn't see
call.
it. Okay. And because last time we talked about the Angels versus the Padres.
Right.
And the difference between being an Angel fan and a Padre fan.
Right.
So,
Well, the number
who did you hear from?
Yeah, the number one Angel fan that I know, he called me after he'd listened to the episode and was like, "Bro, what's going on, man? You can't be dogging the Angels." You know what I mean?
So this is making amends here. You're wearing
Yes, I'm all angeled out. I got my Angel cap on with my Angel shirt. But like I told him, I was like, "Where's the lie of what I said?" You know what I mean? Like,
right. What's wrong? I mean, what can you find fault with?
right.
Yeah.
I've been going to Angel games with you for 2 decades. Like,
yes.
I mean, at an eventual point, you just got to go, let's hope for a pretzel and a hot dog, and a cookie.
I love it. Well, these days, being a Padre fan is no better.
Right.
Maybe worse.
So I heard that the Padres have adopted something that the Angels started. Have you heard about this?
No, I have not.
Okay, so the Angels, sometime around like the 6th or 7th inning, they're usually losing.
Yeah.
There'll be a group of guys who go out into left field and will take their shirts off. And you wear a white shirt and you wave it in the air, right, like a white flag.
Okay.
And they chant, "Sell the team," because they want Artie to sell the Angels.
Yeah.
Because they've not been good for many, many years. And so anyway, I guess the Padres now
Are doing the same
thing.
Really?
Right. And people are like, "Oh, look, the Angels copied the Padres." And you're like, "Wait a minute.
Yeah.
The Angels have been doing this for a long time." So, the Angels did start something, I guess.
Yeah, and now so there you go. So to your listener,
Yes.
who happens to be a relative, we won't say who he is, but
My father-in-law.
well, I wasn't going to say. There you go. The Angels get credit for that.
See? There you
Yes.
go. Yeah.
There
see?
you go.
There you go. They're not working in the right direction, but they're working in a direction,
You can't say they're not influencing others.
Exactly.
That's funny. Well done. You're sporting the Angel wear and making up for that. Those comments from last episode.
Yes,
If you didn't hear them, you might want to catch the tail end of last episode,
Right.
and you can hear us. I think articulate pretty clearly the difference between Angel fans and Padre fans, and these days I don't know if there's much difference, oh my gosh.
Except on paper, like I always say, on paper.
On paper they look good, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's just I don't know what's going on. Like are the Padres still are we 500 at this point, or are we below?
We're below.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah. Misery.
Yeah.
Misery these days in Padre land. But who knows? You may be listening to this a couple months from now, because who knows when you catch
Right.
these podcasts and the Padres are doing great.
Right.
That's the difference right there.
Is the hope.
Is the hope. 2 months from now, the Angels probably.
Oh no. Oh no. They've already started planning their vacations,
Gosh. All right. Well, this is our podcast series is Add to Cart. We're looking at 2 Peter 1:5-7, and looking at the idea of how these traits that Peter mentions there, faith, goodness, knowledge, self-control, today perseverance, how these traits kind of grow and build. And our goal is to look at these in this podcast series one at a time and kind of develop them a little bit more, and amplify. I also want this to be kind of a conversational space where we slow down and go deeper into what we talk about on Sunday mornings. If you didn't hear the message on Sunday, that's still going to be valuable because we're talking about things that really stand alone and will impact the way we live today as something that can carry us further. I'm thinking that, people are going to be maybe grappling with some of the stuff on Sunday morning, but then they leave that day, get in the car, and they're still thinking about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And those are some of the things I want us to talk about is the stuff that people are still thinking about on their drive home. And today it's, why do we hate waiting so much? And why is it still good for us? Several people told me after the message, they go, I really needed that, because impatience is something that infects all of us. All of us struggle with impatience. I don't think there's anybody who, given the right circumstances, situation, or context, are going to find themselves impatient at certain times. So I think it's pretty relevant to all of us, this idea that we don't like to wait, and yet many times that's exactly what the spiritual life is all about, those times of waiting. So the passage that we were in, maybe it's only 2 verses, so I think I'm just going to read it for you. It's 2 Peter 3, 8, and 9, and it says, "Do not forget this one thing, dear friends. With the Lord, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a day. The Lord is not slow in keeping his promise, as some understand slowness. Instead, he is patient with you, not wanting anyone to perish, but everyone to come to repentance." So Peter identifies this big difference between us and God. That God sees the long-term perspective. We tend to live in the short term. God's view of time is way different than ours. We tend to want things to be in an urgent pace. He tends to be a little bit more methodical, long-term, and patient.
Mm-hmm.
And what we consider slow is what God considers patience.
Right.
And that's the big difference. And I think that's what happens in the spiritual life, is we start to see these times of delay in our lives as God's patience rather than his slowness.
Right. Well, it also reminds me too of like when you are doing a sport, or like you're doing something active with somebody who's older, right? But they've been doing it for so long that they have like almost like a different IQ of how the game works, and you go like in your, young manhood, you're like, oh, well, I can outplay these guys any day of the week. But the way that they move, you go like, oh, they've been doing this a long time. Like, they know that they're not going to exert their energy chasing everything around. They can play a little bit slower, but more methodical,
So that happens in tennis.
Right.
Exactly. Where you can play someone who's kind of crafty.
Yes.
And they've been playing a long time, and that you're faster than them.
Oh, for sure.
And now these days, they know they're faster than me. The young player knows they're faster, but they still get beat because the older player can play smart.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's where the younger player tends to just go all on power and speed.
Right.
And
totally.
The younger can go on placement and strategy.
Yes.
And sometimes placement and strategy wins.
Right. Well, it's funny because I don't know how many minutes we're in, but I'm bringing up hockey. So here we go.
Where we are. It's been 8 minutes. Here we go. Hockey is now on the table. Go ahead.
Well, so every year for the league that the kids are in, they do like a players versus coaches game. Okay.
Fun.
Well, this year they're having to switch the rules because you can play if you're in high school and older. You play on the student side, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a coach, then you play on the coach side, right? Well, last year I think the score was like 15-2. I think for the coaches, versus these they're high school kids. So I mean, these kids are, they're
good.
They're in the prime of their life.
They're good. They're fast.
Very
they're
good.
Agile.
Very fast. But
athletic.
But they need a coach, right? Because they forget how to play the sport, and we're coaches, and so we're just like, oh, let's just slow the game down. Like we'll pass it around, and and it's like all of a sudden it's like So then this year they're having to switch the rules because
How do they change the rules?
They're making it so now if you're a coach but you didn't play at the league growing up, then you're on one team. If you coach and you did play, you're now having to play on the other team. So they're breaking up the coaches.
So
basically.
there's some of the coaches play with the kids.
The kids, yeah.
Yeah, that makes
help
sense.
them out.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, that's a great example. It's a great example that sometimes, and God certainly is the one who has the maturity here. And,
Of course.
Obviously, He's the one that's seen it from the wise perspective. And we still, it doesn't matter really how old we are. I feel like impatience still can get the best of us.
Oh, for sure.
We can have that short-term kind of youthful
Mhm.
attitude no matter how old we are.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Well,
know?
especially in today's world, like the Amazon boxes on stage, like
Yes.
always make me kind of go like, yeah, you can just order something and then it's delivered. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I don't know how many times Charlie will ask me to order something, and it comes to my house and I just walk in with a box and drop it off in the media room and I go like, here you go. You know what I mean?
Here you
It's like
go.
how instant everything is, like
Yes.
it's just,
Yes.
yeah.
So our culture doesn't help us. Our culture
No.
kind of reinforces this need for speed.
Yes,
that
for
so
sure.
many of us have.
Yeah.
Well, I had some fun with math, thinking about this idea that 1,000 years is like a day to the Lord. What that means, if you do the math on it, that means that the 80-year-old lifespan, let's say someone lives to be 80, that's an hour and 55 minutes to God.
Wow.
A 50-year marriage, we admire people that are married for 50 years.
Yeah.
That's an hour and 12 minutes. That thing you've been praying for 5 years, that's about 7 minutes to God. How about this? The Civil War was 3 hours, 52 minutes ago to God. World War II ended about an hour and 57 minutes ago. The moon landing, an hour and 22 minutes ago. COVID began 8.5 minutes ago to God.
COVID took 1,000 years.
It
off
felt
of
like
my
1,000 years to us. It was 8.5 minutes to God. To God when it began.
Yeah.
If you open up the telescope and you look further back, biblical history, Abraham was 4 days ago to God. David 3 days ago. Jesus 2 days ago. Now, Peter's not minimizing our times of waiting by making this comparison. He's just showing us that God operates at such a different pattern than we do, such a different perspective. He has a different level of time than we do. He's really actually he's outside of time altogether. And so even though to us our times of waiting are significant and our days sometimes feel long and decades forever, but to God, he sees things from a different perspective. And Peter wants us to capture that, because otherwise we're tempted to think that God is being slow. I think this is a great passage. The promise that it's talking about is about the Lord's return. And since there's so much discussion in the New Testament about Jesus' second coming, it's easy to find fault with God and say, well, how come he hasn't come back yet? And yet all of us would say we wouldn't be around if he had come back by now. So we're grateful, and it really is because God operates on a very different time frame than we do.
Right. I was kind of shocked that you didn't bring up C.S. Lewis on Sunday. Because
let's do it now.
Okay, let's do it now.
What did you want? What did you want to
Well, because
bring up?
of Narnia.
Okay,
because remember when they go into the
on.
Remember when they go into the wardrobe, right? When Lucy
Yes.
goes in the first time, right? And that's Lucy, right? That goes in the first time. Okay,
Yeah.
She goes in the. Remember they're playing hide and go seek at the
Yes,
house.
yes.
And she goes in the first time. She
Yes.
meets Mr. Tubness, right? And then
Yes.
he takes her back to going back into the wardrobe. And she comes out and she goes, guys, I'm here. And they're like, we were still playing the game. Like you
Yes.
lost or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like you told us where you were hiding. Like the game's over. And but the time in the wardrobe works differently than it does outside.
Yeah,
I'm
great.
really surprised you didn't bring that up.
Yes, I could have. That's good. Do you read Narnia to your kids?
So that's funny you said that, because it made me think about that.
Mhm.
Because our friends are reading Narnia right now to their kids, and we're reading, I can't remember what we're reading. It's a book series, and it kind of is the same. It's not C.S. Lewis, but it's like in the same vein of that, where basically they
Doubt it.
Subpar. Subpar material. I can't remember what it is though, but it what it's called. But it's kind of the same thing. Like they go into this tree house, and then the tree house, like whatever book they're reading in the tree house, then the tree house comes to life, and then it takes them to that world and stuff like that. So it's fun, you know.
Fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good. I could have used it. I didn't.
I'm
so,
surprised.
Well, I'm glad you brought it into our discussion today. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, God is at such a different. He views time so differently than we do, but that doesn't change the fact that we hate waiting so much. So why is that? Well, you've already kind of referenced one thing. Our culture celebrates speed. Just think about how quickly we can order things online and they get here. Sometimes the same day.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I order something in the morning, it's there in the afternoon, or sometimes I order something late at night and it's there first thing in the morning. Mm-hmm. It's crazy how quickly we can get things now. Streaming, you know, it used to be. Do you remember having to go to like the video store to pick up videos? Remember that?
Yeah, Blockbuster
or Redbox or you know, something like that. You'd go and you'd have to go someplace. Now you can just decide, let's watch this, and 1 minute later you're watching it. You're streaming. We can Google anything, any information we need. I remember as a kid there were times you just didn't know something. It's like, well, I guess I don't know that.
Right.
I guess, how would I find the answer to that? I have to call someone maybe during work hours and ask them that question. But now you can find out anything 24/7, any time of the day or night. You can get information. Not all is correct, but you can get it.
Yeah, I feel like the childhood like wonder is somewhat lost on the new generation. You know, where you had to like you said, like you're like, I wonder why that does that. You know what I mean? Like, why is that this way, or like why does it do this or whatever? And you're like,
I guess I should think about it. You don't have to think about it anymore. Maybe if I think about that a little bit, I'll have an answer.
Yeah. Well, my son loves to ask me questions that I don't know the answer to, so that we can look them up, you know, on the internet, and he just thinks that that's the coolest thing ever, you know. And he's like, why does like the other day he was like, why is there fog? And I was like, well, I don't really know. I've never thought about that before, you know. And he's like, I'm like, well, let's Google it. And so then, you know, I'll sit there and we'll read, you know, why it is. But it's just like, yeah, I guess you can figure out what things are now. Like you don't have to wait, you know.
Wow, that's great. You know, that's great, but it also reinforces how we've just become accustomed to instant reality.
Yeah.
Yes. Or think about this. This is a great example. You text somebody, and then they don't answer back, and we just get like what's going on? I expect an answer immediately. That anxiety we have when someone doesn't answer.
Right. Or you text somebody, and then they have their notifications silenced. Doug.
Yes. You know what?
And you go, why am I doing this? You know?
I think I need to change that on my phone. I have that set up that way 24/7.
No, I know. And then I love because when you text somebody, they have the notifications off. It says notify anyway, and I always click it.
Notify anyway.
I go, yes, I want him to be notified.
The thing I have it. I don't know. I just have it set, and I've never changed it. And I always look at the messages immediately, and I usually answer pretty quickly.
I know you always do. Yeah,
but I just have it set that way. I don't know why. Somebody help the boy. What am I supposed to do? I just need to turn that off.
It's kind of one of those. It's a very new thing to have your notifications silenced. Like it basically is kind of like saying like I don't really want to be interrupted.
Yeah.
You know, like I'll text you, you don't text me. You know what I mean? Kind of thing.
It's kind of rude, is what you're saying.
It's a little bit rude.
It's a little bit like I don't really want to hear from you. I'm busy. Something's more important than you right now. That's what I'm telling everybody. Yeah. All right, I'll turn that off. All right, I don't.
That's why I always notify anyway. You're not the only person in my life that has that on their phone. Mm-hmm. So anytime somebody does, I just always click notify anyway.
I got to figure that out. All right. Apologize. All right. So, you know, I don't want you to wait anymore.
Thanks,
That's
buddy.
another example of how impatient we are, right? Doug, change that. All right, I will. Anyway, our instant society has not solved our impatience. Arguably, it's made things worse. It just has made us like frustrated when we don't get instant answers because we're so accustomed to it. But what the fact that we are so impatient reveals something about our hearts. And I think this is what it shows us. It shows us that we really lack contentment. We're unable to just really be comfortable with the here and now and the unknown. We want so much for instant answers and instant results. It also reveals in our heart this need to control, that we feel like if I can't make things happen instantly, I'm out of control. And it kind of reveals that. It also reveals that for many of us, we can't be still. We can't just rest in those times of waiting and be still. I think I maybe in the first season of our podcast I quoted this, but it's a quote that's worth coming back to. Pascal, in his writings, Pensées, he said this. He said, all of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. And I feel like our impatience is because we just can't be still. We have to get results and responses, and we have to be distracted with whatever we're trying to pursue, whether it's an answer or a result or a item. We are frustrated when we're in that in-between period, rather than just to be content, be comfortable that God's in control and I'm not, and to say I can just be still right now and waiting. So all of that reveals that our impatience actually reveals something about there's something that needs to change in us. Not so much the answers that we seek, but the condition of our heart is something that needs to change. So let's talk a little bit about what happens when we wait, why waiting actually is good for us even though we hate it. Well, the first thing is that trust develops. And we begin to trust God when we have to wait. When we don't have those answers, we just go. Yesterday I had to wait for just a really simple thing. It's such a small thing in life compared to the big things that so many times all of us find ourselves waiting on. But we were picking up our dog from some surgery he had at the vet. He was there all day having this, and it's all good. But they took forever to he was like last on the agenda, and then we were there after hours to pick him up, and it just felt like we had been waiting all day. And then to bring him out took forever. We were ready to go, and then I'm going, what's wrong? How come they're taking so long to bring him back to us? And I thought, I think I just heard a sermon about waiting yesterday from my own lips. And I go, see how silly this is, how easy it is for us to get impatient and to wait. But hopefully I was able to coach myself a little bit in that setting and go, no, this is what we talked about, and this is an opportunity to trust. Those times when we're just waiting is to trust that God's in control. He knows what He's doing, and I can trust Him.
Right. Well, and He tells us too, like in in the Psalms too, to be still and wait on the Lord. You know what I mean? Like, He'll be exalted in the nations, and it's like it's just such a powerful thing to wait on God and say, I'm relinquishing the little control that I have, and I'm giving it fully to you.
Yes. Yeah, waiting is so powerful. It's so important for us, and yet we resist it. We resist it, or we distract ourselves. I feel like, okay, let me just look at my phone. Let me, get busy with something else rather than savor a little bit that time of waiting. Go, this is really an opportunity to trust and pause and really reflect on that and say, Lord, I'm trusting you. In that situation, because in the end, it's really all about faith. That's what God cares about most, is us trusting Him. The life our life with God is the life of faith.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
just shall live by faith, the Bible says. That's what it's all about. And so why wouldn't God use times of waiting to build trust in us? We also, during those times, learn the difference between God's silence and his absence. We often equate the two. If God's not responding, if he's not answering me, then he's not here. And we realize that's not true. That just because God is not coming through at the speed that we want him to, does not mean he's absent.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually there in the middle of it. And we can access God and take advantage of his presence even when we don't have the promise that we're clinging to at the time. We always have his presence. And we learn to distinguish those two. Otherwise, we just think, well, God's presence is him answering every prayer, Amazon style.
Right.
And instead, what we learn is that his presence is different from him coming through and doing all the things we want him to do on our schedule.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The kids will ask me something, and I'll say, if I'm not sure about like what the plans are for the day or for the evening, I say, well, I'll have to talk to mom about it, just to see what we're gonna do next.
Yeah.
And
smart man.
Right.
Yeah.
I might look dumb, but I'm not that dumb, No, so Evie, my middle one, she has the hardest time with waiting, and I've shared that before.
Mm-hmm.
Like just in being in the car or whatever we're doing, she has the hardest time with it, and so I'm trying to teach her to wait on things, and she'll say to me, she'll ask me, and I say, okay, I have to talk to mommy, or whatever, and if Mandy's busy, then haven't had a chance to talk, so then she'll ask me again, and I'll say, you already asked me that. Like, I gave you an answer to that, She's like, well, you didn't give me an answer to the question.
Mm-hmm.
You told me to wait. And I said, that's the answer.
That is the answer.
That's the answer that I have for you right now. Like, maybe in an hour, if I talk to Mandy about it, then I'll have a different answer for you. But at the current moment, you've asked me, I've answered you, and you have to be okay with that. Like, that's just your answer to wait. And our Heavenly Father is no different than, us in this instance, where we ask him things and he gave us the answer, and the answer is to wait on him.
Yes.
That's the answer.
Great. Yeah, that's really good insight. It's a good illustration too, because we can all picture that. We can picture exactly us like little kids. We want so much to just have the answer immediately, but as a parent, why there's a reason why the answer needs to come later.
Right.
And God even more so than us.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So, matter of fact, we kind of talked a little bit about that on Sunday, and the illustration was being in the back seat of the car.
Yes.
Maybe a lot like your kids.
Yeah.
You use that. Maybe that's what made me think about it. But we're like the kid in the back of the seat that all we have is the view out the window, and we can't see the map. If we could see the map, we probably can't understand it. We don't understand all the things that the driver, our parent, knows. And so we keep asking, are we there yet? Are we there yet? And for the driver, it's a very different experience than it is for the kid in the back seat. The driver knows how long it's going to take. The driver sees the map. The driver knows why this trip is important and why this road is the way to go. All those things that the kid in the back seat doesn't see, doesn't know, isn't aware of. And we trust that God, the Father, has that big picture in mind when all we know is this seems like it's taking too long.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The other thing is another thing that happens when we wait is that we mature, and we mature slowly. And maturity is a slow process, and so it's no surprise that waiting is a part of what builds that in us. It's the perseverance that we've been talking about. This idea that when God waits, we learn to persevere, and that's a sign of maturity. It's the mature athlete that you were talking about, who knows that playing smart and even slowing the pace down is maybe in their best interest to win the game. God also knows that many times slowing the pace down is in our best interest. We don't know, and maybe we won't know this side of heaven, all the things that God is protecting us from when we go through periods of delay. But he sees things that we don't.
Yes, very much so. Well, in music too, like there's an old, kind of like saying, I guess, in music where it's like if you can't play slow, you can't play fast, and if you can't play soft, you can't play loud. And so the concept of it is that if you can play something at a very slow tempo, then you can gradually start to speed it up, but your technique will be really strong. And the same thing with playing soft. If you can play something really soft and make it sound really, really good, then you can obviously play it loud. And so, but everybody wants to go to the loud part, which is fun. It's fun to play loud as a musician. It's really fun. So you want to play loud, and then you also want to play fast, because the faster something is played, it's flashy. It's fun. You kind of go like, oh, wow, look how fast they're playing. Like, look how fast they're playing that riff or that song or whatever. But the older you get and the more mature, as we were saying, the slow is what really comes through, because the players that can play really slow and really soft and still have that tone and that technique, that's the part where you go like, that's impressive, because everybody can do it fast.
Yes,
it's the slowing it down.
Yeah, if you're doing it fast, you might skip some things or overlook.
Exactly,
you don't hear it.
Right,
people don't catch it.
But
if you do it slowly, you hear every single part.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So even till this day, if I'm learning something and I really want to make sure it's technically correct, and I'm not just kind of goofing my way through it, I'll slow it down to the point where it's a single note and it's just really, really slow, and then you go, okay, I got it now and I can play it fast, but yeah.
It reminds me, there's sort of a quip that people use when you talk about preaching as well. When you go to a class or a course on preaching, it's often said that they make the quip that if you're in a section of your talk that you don't understand very well, that's kind of unclear to you, and you feel like it's fuzzy in your own mind, just talk fast. Oh. Just talk fast. This part's unclear. Just talk fast.
Just go through it. Just go through it.
And the idea is, if you really understand something well, you can explain it slowly and deliberately, and simply.
Right.
If it's everybody can make something complicated, everything can make something really fast, and just kind of go through it. Everybody's going, "What exactly was that?
Como que, huh?
Were you? Yeah, como que, huh? I like that. Como que, huh? That's good. I'm going to use
because my Spanish is no bueno, and so I say that when my cousins come to visit.
Yeah,
because they talk so they talk English the way that they talk Spanish, and it's super fast. And so I'm only English speaking, barely Spanish, like non-existent, and they're amazing in both languages. And I'm like always going like, what are you talking about? Like, they talk so fast.
Slow down.
Like,
slow down.
Right, so that's why I adopted that phrase many years ago.
That's good.
Como que, huh?
I love it. If someone knows what they're talking about, they can say it deliberately and simply.
Yes.
But if you're confused, go quickly, and hopefully nobody catches it. So same idea. This idea of slowing down, whether it's sports, whether it's music, whether it's speaking, there's something to it. Another thing that happens when we wait is that we realize that the time of wasting isn't wasted time. Waiting isn't wasted time, and God is using it. And I mean that in two different ways. First of all, God is still at work when we don't see it. He's still doing things that we are usually not aware of. And so it doesn't mean that just because what we're hoping for, waiting for, isn't happening, that nothing is happening. God is still at work. But also you learn that this isn't wasted time for me either. Because so many times when we're in that time of waiting, you feel like, okay, I just guess I have to sit on my hands and just, do nothing until. And no, there's plenty of things you can do while you're waiting. There's plenty of ways that we can be active in our faith, active waiting rather than passive waiting, where we're involved and we're engaged. And I think we can always ask ourselves, well, I know there's some things I can't do right now until I get this information, or I get this answer, or I get this response, or I get this item, whatever you're waiting for. Before this promise is fulfilled, there's things that I can't do, but there are plenty of things I can do. And ask ourselves the question, what can I do in the meantime? And then be actively engaged in waiting. So many times people use waiting as an excuse to just be passive. In reality, God wants you to be active in the ways that you can during those times when we don't see the answers.
Right. Well, we can still be seeking, God, seeking His will for our lives, and in that waiting, there are things that we can actively still be doing.
He still wants you to love your spouse. He still wants you to love your kids. He still wants you to be a great employee. He still wants you to go to work with 100% attitude. He still wants you to share your faith. He still wants you to be kind to individuals. All these things that we can still do that happen when we're in times of waiting. It doesn't mean everything gets put on hold just because this one thing is on hold. And so often that's the way we feel, like I can't go any further until this happens. In reality, there's so much that can happen along the way. And that's the maturity that happens when we wait. We learn active waiting, and we understand that waiting is not wasted from God's perspective and even from ours. I think if Peter were here, he's the one who wrote this passage, if Peter were here, I think one of the things I'd want to ask him is, Peter, why did perseverance become so important to you? Why was this something that you really wanted to stress with the young believers in your day? Because if you think about it, this is so different from the Peter we see in the Gospels. Impulsive Peter, who is like cutting off the soldier's ear with his sword immediately, and Jesus is going, calm down. Peter, slow down. Calm down here. And then, within a few hours is denying the Lord, just spent. He's gone completely the other direction, where he's all passion, and then he fizzles. And so Peter was very impulsive, and he didn't seem to have a lot of perseverance in his experience as a young man, as a young disciple with Jesus. And yet now aged Peter is really pushing for perseverance. And I think that's something that comes with maturity. I think that's something that comes with time, with walking with the Lord and having to experience those times of waiting that we're talking about in this podcast. Here's a question I wonder about. Do you remember in the story, I don't know if you remember this, in the story of the resurrection, it says in John's gospel that Peter and John both went running to the tomb when they heard the news from the women that the tomb was empty. Both of them went, but then that John says he outran Peter. Right? He ran faster than Peter and got there. I just wonder,
history is written by the winners, right?
Exactly. There you go. That's a perfect example. Who wrote that, guy?
John.
John. Just little side note. I got there first.
It would have been funny if Peter would have written "nuh-uh" like in his book. Like that would have been funny.
Como que, huh?
Como que, huh? What do you mean you won?
What do you mean you won? Yeah. Peter, who many think that Mark is Peter's account.
Right.
I wonder, Mark, he doesn't really mention it.
No, he doesn't.
He kind of left that part out. It didn't show up in his account.
I don't remember who won.
Yeah, it was, I don't know. It's not important.
Not important.
Not important. The tomb was empty. That's all that matters. I wonder if Peter just started off really, here's in my mind how I picture it. Peter, being impulsive, just started off like sprinting.
Right.
And John was like, okay,
we got a while to get there.
It's going to take a little while. I'm going to go 3/4 speed and get there first.
Right.
That's my impression of what happened, So here is, Peter, who we know everything we know about him from the Gospels. He's so impulsive and impatient, and yet now here late in his life, what a testimony to God's work in his life. What a testimony to the Holy Spirit's change in us. And what a testimony to what wisdom and maturity brings to now say that perseverance is so important. If anybody says that. When it comes from the lips of Peter, it means so much because you know how foreign that was to his kind of his makeup and his character early on.
Yeah. Well, and it just also shows like just the, like you said, the maturity of really encompassing what the walk with Christ is like. You know, you can have that youthful energy right at the beginning, but in order to persevere and handle all of the stresses that life throws at you, it's not so much a sprint as it is a marathon, you know.
Yes.
And pacing yourself for that, you know.
Peter also understood that, I mean, he must have been waiting for the Lord's return like everyone else, but he had been given that insider information that how he was going to die, and that would happen before the Lord's return.
Mm-hmm.
So while everybody else was saying, "Hey, how come this hasn't happened?" Peter's going, "I'm still alive," you know. And Jesus indicated that maybe John would still be alive when he returns, but I wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
So Peter also, he had that. I think that perspective gave him that long-term sense of that this was going to be beyond his lifetime, and to kind of live with that long-term perspective rather than the short-term.
Well, and to have that wisdom too, to pass that on, you know, of the Peter of his youth versus the Peter of his, you know, more seniored life of the sense of these are the things I thought were important, right? To be first in all these things, and to do this with a lot of energy, and then now having lived all of this life with the knowledge of knowing that Christ is going to come back after he's already left this earth, that he's trying to pass on, I think, that wisdom that he's gathered over his life to us.
Are you still racing your son on the birthdays?
every year?
Yeah. So
he's getting closer, but
he's getting closer.
I still feel like I'm not fully kicking it in, you know.
I feel like that's a really good, because you have this race, and every year you beat him, but some year he'll beat you.
Yes,
maybe.
Yes.
Let's hope.
I think we started it when he was around 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I was walking at that point.
Yes.
You know, like, and then this last year I kind of had to finally kind of kick it into gear where I'm like, oh, I'm running now. You know, like, this is what's going to happen, you know. So.
I picture him starting off. How old is he now?
He's 8. So he'll be 9 this year.
I picture him starting off in a sprint.
Yes.
You know,
he does.
Furious sprint.
Yeah.
And you sort of just, you know, letting him
keeping up with him.
Letting him keep a little bit of a lead, and then just, you know, accelerating your pace a little bit. You know, that's sort of a picture here of how with time, you know, we go from sprint to marathon. We focus different. We have a different focus. In life.
Yes. I like the long distance races. Sometimes we do like a short one, and I have to really book it. But the long distance ones, because he tires himself out, and I just kind of keep going. You know, like, I like the longer distance races.
Yeah, exactly. That's like God. You know, God, it tends to be more focused on the big picture, the long term, rather than, and we tend to get so caught up in the quick race.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, there is a time in Jesus' life when he told his disciples to wait, but I love where it goes. If you look at the first chapter of the book of Acts, Jesus is now risen from the dead, and this is just right before he ascends to heaven. And he gives them these instructions in Acts 1:4. He says, "Do not leave Jerusalem, but wait for the gift of that my Father promised, which you have heard me speak about." So he tells them to wait, and that led to the natural question. A couple of verses later, the disciples asked, "Lord, are you at this time going to restore the kingdom to Israel? Is this the time of your return? Is this when it's all going to come together?" And Jesus' answer is, to me, very instructive. He says, "It is not for you to know the times or dates that the Father has set by his own authority." He goes, you don't get to know the answer to that, sort of like what you were saying earlier with your daughter, where it's like, I told you to wait. That's the answer. I know what you want to know is the exact timing of my return, what you need to know is you need to wait
Mhm.
right now.
Mhm.
He continues, though. In verse 8, he says, "But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes on you, and you'll be my witnesses, Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, the ends of the earth." So basically, Jesus says, yes, you need to wait, but that waiting isn't passive. That waiting is actively engaged in being my witnesses and living for me and displaying my life in you, being my representatives here on earth and doing all that involves. And so the disciples were called to wait, but they were called to wait in an active way and to be engaged and not just sit around on the hill and go, when are you coming back? But to go back and engage in the planet that Jesus came to save. So it's a beautiful picture of what our waiting is designed to be. Yes, Jesus tells us to wait, but that waiting is not without intention, without purpose, and without God's work in the middle of it. So to me, that's a great picture of what Jesus means, why waiting isn't wasted. Now, I feel like I need to say this at this point because, and I feel like we come back to this in several of the topics that we cover on this podcast, but I need to say that all waiting isn't God's design. Sometimes the reason that we're waiting in life is because we live in a broken world, or people are sinful, or it's our own foolishness that contributes to these times of delay in our own life. That can truly be the case that we have to wait. I can imagine scenarios out there where people are waiting and they go, this is not God's doing. This is because the process is negligent, or the situation is sinful, or the consequence. These are the consequences of some bad choices. And I get that. I get that sometimes the delay in our life is not, well, God is just orchestrating this delay, but it's because we live in a world that's out of whack with God's plan. But still, even in those situations, these are opportunities for us to turn to God and trust Him to redeem the situation. He's always engaged in His people's lives, and He's always turning those things around for His purpose, for His plan, and for His redemption. And so all of these things are true even when the circumstances may be created by sinful situations or just a broken world. Even then, God is still at work in the life of the believer, bringing things together for good. And so these things that we've talked about, those are still opportunities to trust God and allow that to develop in our lives. These are still times to learn the difference between God's silence and God's absence, to know that He's still present with us in the middle of that. He's still using it to help us to grow and to mature. He's helping us realize that He's still at work. He's doing things when we can't see it, that waiting is not wasted time. And He's telling us that there's things that we can do. We can be actively involved in the middle of those times of waiting. So for all those reasons, we know that waiting for the believer is not wasted, that God is still working.
Yeah, very much so. You ended your message on Sunday by saying that God's delays is His mercy in disguise.
Yes.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That was brilliant.
Yeah.
Well done, sir.
And that's what the passage tells us. The passage tells us that He has a purpose in that times of waiting, that in the case for His second coming, His purpose is that everyone could come to repentance, right. Hoping, trusting, waiting, hoping that everyone comes to repentance and that we don't perish. It's for our own protection. It's an expression of His mercy. And that principle that applies to the second coming applies to every area that we wait in our lives. It is His mercy that is at work, even when we don't see it.
Yeah,
even when it doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we didn't get any listener questions online. Apparently, we got direct phone calls with and they weren't questions; they were comments.
They were comments. They were more of a comment and a correction.
Correction on the angel discussion last time.
Now Christmas won't be awkward, so I fixed it.
Oh, good. Thanksgiving, you can go through Thanksgiving, and it won't be like,
we'll be all right.
Oh man. So did you wear the angel? Are you going to wear the angel cap next time you see him?
I probably will.
Probably a
yeah,
good idea.
I probably will.
Probably a good idea. I just
I think the
recommend
next
it.
time I actually see him, I think we're going to be at an Angel game. So
Oh, there you go. There you go. All right. Well, you'll have a lot to talk
There you
about. Please stay tuned to hear about how that conversation goes. Make sure we talk about that
Of
when that
course, of
happens. I
course.
want to hear how that
Look
goes.
at me.
With,
I love the Angels.
Yes, love those Angels.
I love the cookies.
Get a pretzel and a hot dog. What more can you hope for?
Yeah. What more can you hope?
Sell the team. Sell the team. All right. Well, thank you, Ryan, for your contribution.
Thank you,
It's been a
Doug.
good conversation, chance for us to just go deeper with some of the things that people might still be thinking about on their drive home after the message on Sunday. Thank you to our enthusiastic viewers and listeners. Until next time, you've been listening to Unhurried with Doug Kyle. I look forward to talking soon.